Again, Daniel, this is going to be another interesting interview. Seasonality of cargo theft at transport chain locations.
Yes, thank you again for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about these things. Today we want to talk about seasonality, and that's an interesting phenomenon. Everybody's doing research in criminology, knows there are different frequency, different impacts from different crimes when it comes to time of year, time of week, time of day, and so on. So in this case, we try to utilize all the knowledge that is developed in criminology and try to put it into cargo theft risk in road transport mainly, to see can we find these seasonality effects which theorists in criminology put forwards.
And can you talk about the paper that you published about this topic?
Yes, it's a paper we published, I think it was 2013, in International Journal of Physical Distribution and Logistics Management, which is a good journal in the field of logistics. In that paper, we utilized the TAPA EMEA IIS data, which contains roughly over 20,000 unique reported cargo theft incidents, which means real cargo theft incidents. The problem is that if the incidents are considered to be too small when it comes to impact, it's not reported into the system. If nobody wants to report it, it's also not reported into the system. Nevertheless, even Europol put forward this database as being the most reliable in EU when it comes to understand this problem. With that said, we looked into the cargo theft seasonality effects from a risk perspective, which means that we have a frequency focus and we have an impact focus, both of these. We need to understand if the frequency change, if the impact changes, because the combination impact and frequency is, as everybody in risk understands, is the risk. We did find something really interesting, is that when it comes to seasonality on year, which we actually expected, thanks to the theories in criminology, that we will have an increase in number of property-related crimes, which is basically what cargo theft is about. We expected increase in winter with non-violent, and we expected increase in summertime with violent behavior. That goes directly back to criminology theories. We didn't really find the increase winter times. We did find it. The variation was only on frequency. We didn't find any variation basically in impact. And that leads to the conclusion that if you talk about seasonality time of year, it's a number of crimes that changes, not how and what they are targeting. Slightly surprising, but basically not. If we instead look into time at week, and there is the understand that you have different attack modes when it comes to time of week. Monday to Friday is working days, Saturdays and Sundays is free time for the companies normally, which means that we would expect, let's say, an increase in frequency over the weekends, because then most of the trucks were standing still, less guarded facilities. That's what we expected from that point of view. We didn't find that. We did, however, find an increase in frequency when it comes to the less protected areas, which means the non-secure parkings and the en route location, which means between facilities. That we did find a frequency change, but not any value or impact change. So basically, again, we fall back to the same conclusion, is that it's the number of attacks that differs, not how and when and where they're done. They're slightly the same, which means that you have a number of perpetrators that goes back to a preferred modus operandi, and they attack at a preferred location in a preferred ratio when it comes to mainly referring to when time of year wise they attack. What was unfortunately in this data was that we couldn't really pinpoint the time of day. Because if we look into other research from the International Road Haulers Union, I think it was published in 2007, it's an interview study talking to, that interviewed a number of drivers, and they tried to pinpoint where time of day wise the risk was as highest or the most attacks occurred against the trucks. That study pointed out that the main time of day for the attacks is after 10 in the evening and before 6 in the morning. Basically, when the highest likelihood that the truck is actually standing still. And that's actually not surprised. This falls into the common sense from one point of view. Unfortunately, in our research from the top EMEA IS database, we couldn't double check that. The quality of the data in the IS database was too low, so we couldn't do that check. And that was unfortunately. But I think that we will, when it comes to the at least the non-violent crime, see that spread for time of day. For the violent crimes, you need someone to threaten, and then you will see the opposite instead, because you need to threaten someone at work, which is basically during working hours instead.
And what about the outcome? How do you assess these conclusions?
As this is one of the first out where we're actually utilizing this amount of data from one source. We're just looking into it in this way, and also I have a background in the industry and lots of connections there, so we have lots of discussion about this outcome. What was surprisingly to me from a practical background was that we couldn't really see the Christmas effect, which is talked about in the security industry, where you have an increasing problem in mainly October, November, and maybe the first week in December for this activity, referring more to that the criminals steal the products so they can sell it before Christmas, which also in this case would lead to that you will have a drop in problems directly after Christmas. We couldn't really see this in this research, which was a little bit surprising because I did expect that actually. We actually saw an interesting phenomenon. We called it the reduction during the December. So the December effect, where the total reduction of crimes in December, and that was really unexpected.
And thanks again, Daniel, for sharing on this important topic.
Yeah, thank you again. For anybody who wants to read it in more detail, you can find the paper. It's publicly linked to the journal, so it's International Journal of Physical Distribution and Logistics Management and so on. And if you email me, I can provide you with a copy.